Thanks for joining us for Week 5 of Ask Bill. Our first question comes from Mike DeWitt. What do you do when you have gotten a verbal award for some business and a tentative start date, and then informed that the project was put on indefinite hold, with little explanation as to why? Do you sit tight and hope it comes back to life, or do you take it off the forecast and assume you were led down the path?
Hey Mike, take it off the forecast. At least for now. You see, here's what happens with things. They tend to rise to the surface and then they tend to go away. But I'll tell you right now, it's all not on your forecast, at least your short-term forecast. So you need to take it away. But here's what you need to do. You need to stay in touch with that prospect. You see, people buy when they're ready to buy, not when you need to make a sale. There could be all kinds of reasons why this thing goes away. We had one recently where it went away on us and now it's resurrected itself. But you're going to need to stay in touch because it's top of consciousness, out of thought, out of mind. Because again, they buy when they're ready and allow them to resurface. Because you got to remember, in the final analysis, sales is really all about persistence. How persistent are you?
Our next question comes from Mike Mayul. Bill, we are seeing a trend by large corporations utilizing either in-house or outsourced purchasing people to put together requests for quote, RFQ, on everything from the products they buy to services on their facility. The idea, of course, is to leverage their huge buying power to squeeze their vendors. I sell service agreements and we have built a successful business on providing superior service. However, in bid situations, we always lose because of the high standards we have established and the willingness of other companies to do little or no service to get their foot in the door. How do we hang on to large customers and maintain high service standards and profit margins?
That is the $64,000 question. And if I had the answer to all of that, I'm not so sure I'd be here on this earth. But let me just give you a couple of thoughts. RFQs or RFPs are very difficult. One of the things you need to find out early on, is this a level playing field? Is this a legitimate request, or has someone else influenced the specs? Which takes me to my next concept. What about you being designed very, very early to put yourself into the format where you are helping to design those specs? We've actually won contracts in the past because we've written the specs that no one else could meet because we got there firstest with the mostest. Now, in the absence of that, I think it's pretty clear that not everybody is going to buy from you or anyone else who's a high-price provider. One of the issues is you have to understand, does it say that the organization has the right to refuse or review any bid? What that means is that the low-price provider doesn't necessarily win. And you need to have enough internal advocacy to make that kind of a determination. You need to make sure that what you try to do is to create what you provide as being mission critical, mission sensitive. Don't allow it to be a commodity. Differentiate your offerings in such a way that no one else can compare an apple to an apple. That way, even if it is spec'd and it has that quote in there, what happens is they have the right to review. Very difficult situation, happening more and more and more. But salesmanship, being a professional salesperson, means staying on top of it and making sure that you don't get thrown to the bottom of the pile.
Okay, our last question for the week comes from R.K. Sharma. Hi, Bill. I'm working as a trainer in India, and many a time I come across a situation where from a batch of 28 people, 50% of the participants do not understand English as well as other language, so it becomes difficult to make them understand. How do I manage this situation? With regards, R.K. Sharma.
Have you considered simultaneous translation? Now, I know it's very expensive to do that because you've got multi kinds of languages. And what happens is you have to have these translators and have the heavy equipment in there on the covering the ears and the microphones and all those kinds of things. I've done some of that in the past where I've had an audience where there have been 5 or 6 different languages I'm presenting, and when I present, it's all translated out via these simultaneous translators. Now, in the absence of that, what you may want to do is understand this. Take what you're teaching and make it more simple. Don't try to teach as much. Try to teach less. Break it down. The big secret here is if someone can't understand it, they're clearly not going to be able to implement it. So take what you teach, pare it down, Teach less and teach more about what it is you've got in more time with less content.
All right, thanks, Bill. We'll see you next week.
Next time.